Or I will open the meeting of the Pajaro Valley Healthcare District for Wednesday, September 24th, 2025 at 7:20 p.m. Rosie, whenever you have an opportunity, please give us a roll call.
Here, Trevor Braille. Here, Trevor Gallagher.
Here.
Trevor Patel.
Here. Here. We had no closed session, so there's nothing to report out of closed session. I'll ask staff if there's any agenda modification for consideration. Okay. Seeing none, I will move us on to public comment on matters not on tonight's agenda. Is there anyone wishing to speak on anything not on tonight's healthcare district agenda? Please.
I'm Dr. Ryan Nolan again. This is actually, I think it's related to it at a later agenda point, but it's not actually part of that point. You guys are going to be discussing the possibility of election zones within the district for electing you guys. I just want to point out the district boundaries, I think, should be re-examined. I live in Corlitos, like actual Corlitos for sure. I'm not in the district. I was not able to vote for Measure N. I can't vote for any of you. Right across the street from me, my neighbors can, because there's that dividing line is through the center line of 3 Canyon Road. I'm definitely Corlitos. I have a 95076 zip code, so I'm definitely within Watsonville's boundaries. And I find it very strange that myself and some of my neighbors are not included. If you go on Google Maps and if you click the various villages around here, Corlitos will highlight a certain area that's in the district. If you click Day Valley, it will highlight where I live, even though I would not consider myself part of that area. That's Aptos' zip code as well, and we're not part of our district. So I would just encourage you guys, I don't know who draws the boundaries or how that got made, whether it's above you guys at the state level or something, but I just very encourage you, I feel disenfranchised.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on items not on tonight's agenda? All right. I will close out the public comment for matters not on tonight's agenda, and I'll open it up for comments from the board members. Any comments from the board members? Okay, I'll move on to our consent calendar. We have 4 items on tonight's consent calendar. Rosie, if you could read them off for us.
Yes, the first item is the minutes approval for the minutes of August 27th, 2025 as the regular meeting and for the special meeting of September 3rd, 2025. The second item is the Chief Financial Officer monthly financial performance update. The third item is the Pajaro Valley Healthcare District policy approval for September 2025. And the fourth item is the 2026 budget update.
Okay, any questions from the board before I open up for public comment on the consent calendar? Okay, I'll open up to public comment. First, for folks to join us online, anyone online wishing to speak on these 4 items? Okay, seeing none, anyone in person? Okay. Seeing none, I'll close down public comment. I'll bring it back to the board for an appropriate motion.
I'll move approval with the comment. I missed saying this. We had 330 pages of policies in our prior packet, and a lot of it was making sure our logo was prominently displayed. Wonderful work, Nancy. It looked great across all those policies. I forgot to mention that earlier, but they're here again. I move consent. I second.
Thank you, Director Pimentel and Gallagher. I'll take roll on those items. Director Cox.
Yes.
Director Friel.
Yes.
Director Gallagher.
Yeah.
Director Pimentel.
Yes.
And Chair Kia.
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to item number 5. It's our public hearing for our second public hearing for our rezoning or our move to zone elections. Steve, will you present this?
Yeah, I can kind of use this really quickly. Absolutely. Thank you. So the California Health and Safety Code requires our district to adopt a bi-zone election system within 5 years of the date of our first meeting of the board. So that was in 2022. And so we have to do this by 2027. So we are completing this in time for the 2026 election cycle. Part of that is conducting public hearings, and today is the second of those public hearings to receive public input regarding the composition of the Pajaro Valley Healthcare District Board election zones. Following the public hearings, board members can provide input and direction to the staff regarding neighborhoods, communities, and interest and other considerations. And I would like to introduce Doug Johnson, who will walk us through what this process looks like in our hearing today.
Thank you. Again, it's good to be with you all again. I think the plan is for next time I'll be there in person, so I'm looking forward to seeing you all in person. The presentation we have tonight is the same as the one you saw in the first hearing. Just as a reminder, that is required by statute that we do 2 presentations, but I'm going to go through this fairly quickly since the board has certainly seen it all, and I don't know if you have much of if many of the nurses or other members of the public stuck around for this part. But if we go to the next slide. I was just mentioning this is our second hearing. So you can see we started this on August 27th. This is the second board meeting out of a requirement of actually 5 that will take place. And we did hold last week a community forum, and which got 1 person turned out, which is actually more than I expected. Healthcare districts tend to have fairly low profiles. You have a higher one given your new status than most do. But we only had 1 person show up, but we had a very nice conversation. So, and a couple of ideas that came out of that I'll mention later on. The next step is when it starts to get a little more interesting as we get into draft maps. And so our third hearing, or as listed here, our first hearing on draft maps is scheduled for October 29th. And the draft maps have to be posted at least a week before that, by October 22nd. We'll aim to have them up a couple days before that. So in about 2 to 3 weeks, you'll see draft maps. Those are, of course, just first round draft maps. We'll look forward to public and board input at that meeting on the 29th. And then we'll do another community forum on November 5th, where folks can come in and we can look at the maps in detail and kind of go through them street by street. And anyone who's interested, we can get their feedback and their preferences in terms of maps. And we'll come back with revised maps for the 19th. If there is a preference, the board can express at that point, but the map would actually be adopted either at that point, or if there are additional revisions wanted to the maps in January 28th. So we're not doing this in the middle of the holiday. So next slide. And just as a reminder, the criteria are fairly strict nowadays. These are new for special districts as of 2023. And so we've got the federal requirements, which have been around for decades. We have to have an equal number of people in each election zone. And it is people as counted in the census. It's not registered voters or voters casting ballots or anything like that. It's people counted by the census. We also have to comply with the Federal Voting Rights Act and with the Constitution to ensure there's no racial gerrymandering. And we'll make sure that all the draft maps you see from us comply with all those requirements. And we'll review any public maps that may come in as well. Where things get a little more strict is in the California criteria. So the state law says that in the following order, we have to keep the districts contiguous, which makes sense. They have to all, you can't have one piece of a district or one piece of a zone up north and one piece down south. They have to touch. Then number 2 is where most of the discussion tends to be. You just heard a little bit about this, about the boundaries of Corralitos. We have to avoid the division of neighborhoods or communities of interest. And I'll talk a little bit more about what a community of interest is later. But that really is the focus, is trying to keep these areas together. After that, the state says we have to avoid any division, or in the case of Watsonville, where it's so big, minimize the division of the cities. And we also have to avoid dividing census designated places, which are the Census Bureau's attempt to identify unincorporated areas. And I'll show you a map of that later in the presentation. Then number 4, we want to try to follow easily identifiable boundaries, major roads, rivers, things like that, that make it really easy for the voters to understand which zone they're in. And the last criterion is to be compact. Don't bypass one group of people in order to go around them and get a different group of people. And then California also has a prohibition. We shall not adopt election district boundaries for purpose of favoring or discriminating against an incumbent, a candidate, or a political party. So we're not going to be looking at where the board members live, where potential board members live, anything like that. When we're drawing the maps and when you're adopting the maps, you can't take those things into consideration. Now, should there be 2 or more maps that are equal in your view on all these criteria, then we can look at things like future population growth or other specific local considerations. But it's pretty rare these days that we get down to those factors, given that the state criteria are so extensive now. So go to the next slide, and I'm happy to come back to any of this in more detail since I've done it once before for you. I'm going through it fairly quickly. Again, I'm not going to go through all these numbers, but we do use a lot of data in drawing our maps, and we have a lot of data available as you and members of the public are reviewing the maps. The key number is the key popped out on the left here. Each of the 5 election zones will end up having just under 20,000 people. And it's simply the 95,000 and change population of the district divided by 5. And so then we have data available by citizen voting age population. That's what we look at for the Federal Voting Rights Act compliance. And then on the right, a bunch of socioeconomic data, percentage immigrants, percentage over age 60, language spoken at home. As we go down farther, you get into income levels, renters versus homeowner occupied housing, single family versus multifamily. All this data is provided for every zone in every map. So if someone's concern is, hey, is there an election zone or 2 or 3 where renters are a majority? Well, they'll be able to look at our reports and see which of the draft maps meet that goal. So if we go to the next slide. Putting some of that data onto a map. When we talk about the Federal Voting Rights Act, we're looking at citizen voting age population, or CVAP numbers. And we want to be sure that we don't divide concentrations of what the law calls a protected class in a way that dilutes their voting strength. So you can see the purple is very low percentages, the reds are very high percentages. And obviously there's going to be more than one zone where Latinos are a majority of the citizen voting age population. So there will be divisions in Watsonville. The city is far too big to be all in one zone. But getting those right so that the divisions make sense and don't dilute the voting strength of Latinos or any other protected class is the key to complying with the Federal Voting Rights Act. We have actually looked at maps of the other protected classes listed at the bottom here: Asian Americans, African Americans, and Native Americans, and confirmed there's no geographic concentration of any of those groups. So obviously there are people of all those persuasions in the district, but they're not going to factor into the drawing of zones because they're not geographically concentrated enough to make a difference in the makeup of a zone. So we'll go to the next slide. We can also, of course, map any of the other data. And on the project website that I'll mention at the end, people can click the different, can go to a map and they can click the different layers and they can see these maps and they can zoom in and see exactly where the boundaries are. And they'll be able to review how the draft maps compare to these socioeconomic factors. So as samples, you've got children living under 18 at home. That's a big one when we're drawing school district trustee areas. Household income levels, college graduate levels, and renters. Renters is one that is very often mentioned, not so much in healthcare district projects, but a lot in city council projects and things like that. So all these data are available to anyone that wants to click on the project website and zoom in and see these details. So we go to the next slide. So I mentioned earlier the key discussions tend to be around neighborhoods. Neighborhoods are pretty straightforward. How do you describe the area where you live? That is usually pretty quick for people to come up with a name of their neighborhood. The trick, of course, for us to put it into a map is what are the boundaries of that neighborhood? So anyone that wants to comment today or wants to send in an email or anything like that, please share what is your neighborhood why you think it should be kept together, and what are the boundaries of it, so that we know whether or not we are keeping it together in a specific map. You can go to the next slide. Communities of interest is a little bit of a weirder term. It's a term of art in districting and in elections law. California defines it as the wording highlighted in blue here. It's a population that shares a common social or economic interest. So it could be what language is spoken at home, a geographic area that has low English fluency, so they might be more advocates for bilingual materials. They could have a shared policy issue related to the hospital. But the key thing is that for a community of interest under this law is that they should be included within a single district for the purposes of fair and effective representation. So this is a challenge for people to think about. Do you want to be concentrated all in one zone, so you have the best chance of electing one of your group or someone closely aligned with you to that zone seat? But then you only have 1 seat out of 5. We often get groups, most often it comes up in large retirement communities like the Sun Cities, that say, you know, hey, we turn out at 95%. You don't need to concentrate us. We'd actually rather have 2 or 3 elected representatives who represent our big Sun City, so that they all have to come listen to us, and we have no doubt we'll be able to get their attention. So that's where this question of what is your issue or socioeconomic tie, and then would you benefit from being kept in a single district? And so we'd love to hear from residents who do think they are in a community of interest. So we go to the next slide. And then, of course, all these factors have already been used in this area when Watsonville drew their city council districts, or when Pajaro Valley drew their trustee areas. Both of those happened back in 2021. Or just recently, we worked with the Levy District, officially the Water Management Agency.
Big pros. Doug, can you hear us?
Yep, give me 1 second. Oh, sorry, give me. Oh, there we go. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened there, but my camera cut out. And like I said, next meeting I will be there in person. So just saying, and lastly, you can see in the satellite image, it really shows the urban Watsonville area versus the hills and the farms. And one of the things actually we did a lot at the community forum with the gentleman who came is enlarge that image and look at where are actually the farms. And as he put it, the heavy duty ag versus the lighter ag and the more residential rural areas. So all these things are things we as your demographers will look at when we're coming up with draft plans, and we welcome public input on whether or not they make sense as inputs. Okay, so we go to the next slide. Okay, so that's my presentation. I'm happy to go back and talk about any of that in more detail. But if there are members of the public or board members that want to share your thoughts at this point, we are looking especially for input on neighborhoods and communities of interest, but happy to discuss any part of this process.
Okay, any questions for Doug? No, we received this presentation in the last meeting or a similar one, so there might not be, but any burning questions that we had from last time? Doug, this is Tony. I do have a question about the community forum that we held. What sort of you touched on a little bit of some of the discussion that was had with the gentleman that joined us. What sort of other discussion items or topics did you have in that were brought up in that? And did they jog any sort of critical thinking for you and your team?
The most interesting piece of it was when we showed that slide you just saw with the city council districts and the school districts and and the Water Management Agency districts. He brought up, probably the most important group for you is the county supervisors. And of course, Congress and state legislature, but the whole district's in one congressional district and in one state legislative district. So actually, I didn't add it to the PowerPoint because this is the same you saw before. But on the drawpajaro.org website, if you go into the interactive map, we've added both the county supervisor maps and the just because the county made them available, Cabrillo College election areas, because they are also following communities and neighborhoods, and the Santa Cruz County Board of Education election areas. So as we're drawing these maps, we can look at how do these other areas group neighborhoods and communities and try to follow their examples where possible. That was the main discussion, was kind of his thoughts about relationships between the hospital district and the other elected officials you have to talk to and get support from.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions. I'll do have to open up to public comment for this public hearing. So, Rosie, any raised hands online wishing to speak on this item?
No hands raised online.
Okay, anyone in person wishing to speak on this item? Okay, I'll close out. Oh, you know,
It's slow.
a fellow nerd.
I want to make sure I get this deep right. I just want to, we did have our first community forum and we were ecstatic that one person came. And we are having, I just want to reiterate, Doug mentioned it very quickly at the beginning, and I just want to mention it again, that because as part of this process, Doug mentioned we're coming back to your board. Next time it will be in proposed maps. We also will be having another community forum. I want to make sure that your board was aware of it, also the public was aware of it. We are having the next one to be online, partially to see whether we get additional participation, especially since we live in a community where nights can be difficult with family commitments, with transportation, coming back to work. So our next community forum will be online in order also to see if changing forum gets additional community participation. So I just wanted to make sure that any public watching, whether that's recording right now, is made aware of that. So I just wanted to highlight it, that it's, so I want to make sure I get it right. It's the November 5th.
And not an election day.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, on election day. Yeah, it is on, it's November 5th. So that people can participate online. It is also on that same website that I brought up, so I just want to make sure to highlight that for everybody. So that's all my numbers.
Thank you. Okay, there's no other members of the public that wish to speak on this. I'll close down the public comment and bring it back to the board. I know there's no motion or action that we need to take on this item, but any closing comments so far on this item before we move over to item number 6?
Just a clarification on the November 5th, do we have a time?
5:30.
And is the link already published?
It's on the web, it's on our district website,
Beautiful,
on the calendar.
beautiful, thank you. And clarification, Doug, we talked a little, or I had some concerns about our timeline. I think it's generally good. The map adoption of November 19th seems very aggressive. These are just guidelines, right now. I mean, certainly we could, if we need to take a little bit more time, certainly don't have to do anything on the 19th. January 28th would be a good fallback. Do you have any concerns about app adoption in January versus November? I know ultimately we have a timeline we have to adhere to.
Yeah, no, it's a very good question. We really, because legally through the statute, you do have the opportunity to adopt on that November 19th. So we want to make that available if there's one map that everyone just says, oh, this is obviously the map. But if you're not ready to say that, there's no problem at all taking more time, coming up with more drafts, and then adopting in January. That's not, so, or even later than that. The challenge once you get after January is you do want the map in place so that people who are thinking of running can start to organize their campaigns and know where they're going to run. But there's no problem with waiting until January at all.
Yeah, my instinct is November 19th is probably fine. I just wanted to make sure we're talking about that, identifying. We have a little bit of runway in case something unexpected happens.
Yeah, it's purely in case you're ready, there's no pressure or requirement back then at all.
Thank you.
Unexpected, or we want more community feedback to send it out, survey or whatever it might be.
Sure, all things, yeah, all those things.
Any other comments before we move on to item number 7? I'm sorry, item number 6. Okay, Doug, thank you for sticking around. Appreciate it. Thank you for the work.
Thank you. Good to see you again.
Okay, we'll move on to item number 6. This is the Potter Valley Healthcare District External Partnerships Update. This is Steve giving the update, but I.
Yes, so I can tee it up and then I'll let the ad hoc committee give the update. So as a reminder, at the August 27th board meeting, the district board took 3 actions. One was to pass a motion to form an external partnerships ad hoc committee. And it was decided to be made up of directors Friel and Nunez, with Director Nunez serving as the ad hoc committee chair. The board also passed a motion to direct staff to re-engage in discussions with external partners who had responded to the RFP from 2024, and also re-engaging new possible partners, people who did not respond to the RFP from 2024. And also passed a motion to request the ad hoc committee to work with staff to revise the external partnership RFP guidelines, the guiding principles, and bring those back to the board. And so the ad hoc committee met with staff on August 29th, 2 days later, created a revised draft of the guiding principles, which were then approved at a district board meeting on September 3rd. The ad hoc committee has met 3 additional times to talk about the process and the ongoing conversations with potential partners. And I think directors Nunez and Friel want to give a little update on where you're at and what you're thinking, so that the rest of the board can hear about that and give their input.
Yeah, definitely. Alex, I think I can continue, and then if you'd like to add as well. So as Steve said, we have met 3 times, and we now have a recurring weekly meeting set on the calendar as we're starting to really solidify who are the potential partners that we can get into a partnership with, and that makes sense both from the district perspective, from the hospital perspective, from our staff perspective, and from the community, and obviously the healthcare system here in Santa Cruz County and across the Central Coast. In those meetings in the ad hoc, we thought it was good to bring in other local partners to get their perspectives on potential partnerships. And so the ad hoc committee did make the decision of bringing in a representative from the County of Santa Cruz's CEO's office. And so we do have a representative from the County of Santa Cruz as a part of the ad hoc committee. And we have also brought in a member of our Vituity physicians group here that works at a Watsonville Community Hospital to get their perspective on potential partnerships. And that has been very helpful. They've been in one meeting together with the ad hoc committee, our most recent meeting. And we have a meeting actually upcoming very shortly after this meeting. And then we'll go to recurring weekly meetings to continue to discuss where potential partnerships and where conversations are at. So as Steve said, the direction that this board gave the ad hoc committee was to reach back out to all of the folks who submitted a response to the previous RFP. And so we have reached out to Kaiser, to Sutter, and to Common Spirit, those folks who responded to that, and I've also had other discussions with potential partners across the Central Coast as well. And conversations have mostly gone well. They have not been closed doors. No, thank you. It's been okay. Let's see what we can do and what you guys have in mind. In terms of ongoing communication or meetings outside of the ad hoc committee, we've also, I think, Director Friel talked about this in her comments during the hospital board meeting, but we had a meeting with our union partners to let them know and have kind of an introductory meeting with them of this is what this process will look like. This is kind of what the timeline we're hoping will look like. And This is a general update similar to the presentation that we gave to this board in our last meeting back in August. And so that was good to get into that, get this idea and this concept and this initiative before them so that they can understand it and then also come back to our team with questions and stuff for us to ponder about the potential impacts of a partnership and what that might have on the staff at the hospital. I will also, let's see, what else did I want to, in terms of what the goals are, in terms of the timeline, I know that when we first come to the board after we were first appointed, we said that we would be moving diligently, we would be moving quickly. And so the goal still is to come for the board by the end of the fall with something for you to react to and possibly approve to move forward in real kind of further discussions with the potential partner. And so that might be, and that might mean that coming in our October meeting, we have something for the board to review, to give feedback on and to possibly approve, or that might mean sometime in November, we have something for the board to come back and review and talk about and approve. And so the hope is that not only for the board's visibility, but for our community's visibility and for our staff's visibility as well, that we'll have something to share out publicly with enough time so that folks can kind of digest it, have questions prepared for the ad hoc committee and for staff, and then be able to send those questions in for when something does eventually come to the board, for a potential approval or for discussion. So that's our report right now. Discussions have gone well with potential partners and things are moving forward. And I think the current makeup of the group is solid. We had some discussions about possibly expanding the membership of the ad hoc committee, not to, above the current, I believe we're 6 right now, if I remember correctly. So not making it too big so that it balloons out, but possibly thinking about adding some representatives, either additional from the hospital or from potential community partners. There's some great groups here that I see as both advocacy groups, but then also as great community partner groups, such as our Pajaro Valley Collaborative, our South County Triage Group, and the Benefits Collaborative, and a few other collaboratives in our community that really touch all the different touch points of healthcare, and then also have a great viewpoint of everything that happens in our region in terms of the general public as well. So Alex, anything you want to add to that?
I think you covered most of it. I just want to highlight the fact that we really are trying to be strategic. We included members from the staff, Dr. Claypool and a couple of other key people to make sure that we are communicating on both sides, because we want to ensure as much transparency through this process as we can to keep people abreast of what's happening. And that was heard loud and clear from the union meeting, that we need to ensure that we are being clear with what we're doing. And so I think that's important. We're following those guidelines that were approved by the board back at the beginning of September. But I want to ensure a positive relationship and best intentions is what we're moving forward with, and ensuring the best for this hospital and for the staff.
I guess I can open it up to questions from my fellow board members, from our fellow board members right now about if you have any questions, or we had just planned to give you a verbal update and to make sure that you're aware that it is possible that our October meeting, something could be coming to us or sooner or later, right? I think the idea is we want to have something for the board to react to ask questions of our administration, and then for us to come and present and possibly have a recommendation for the board to weigh and to discuss as well by the end of the fall. Of course, the fall technically goes all the way to December, but I see the fall as October, November time. So, right. Any questions of the ad hoc committee? Please.
You mentioned the 3 people who had responded back last year, but then you mentioned there are other, are you able to specifically name the other?
They're all, well, they all follow the ad hoc guidelines that was approved by the board. So, all of them already practicing healthcare within Northern California. So some of our partners down in Monterey County, we've been in contact with those folks, just seeing, is there a possible partnership there? And, other folks that, I believe in the last round, Dr. Gallagher, when you were on the ad hoc committee, previously, your UCSF's, UC system, that sort of stuff, we thought there was a possibility there, reaching out to them and just seeing, where are you in terms of the medical school and all those things, their future plans here in the county. So, a couple of partners down in Monterey County, and also, some of the partners that we had initial very good discussions during the first ad hoc committee, or the first ad hoc process, but did not end up sending in any responses to the RFP, going back to them and seeing if things are different now. Yes. Like, any other questions? Please.
I appreciate the reach out to unions and thinking of who can help bring a different perspective to the Mesa. Thank you for all that. This is maybe a lean into the next topic. Not adding more to your plate, but how do we make sure we're communicating with some other key stakeholders who maybe have invested in the hospital and not to give them pause or concern that they're misreading or misinterpreting something? Maybe that's a different channel, but then I guess I'm leaning into make sure some of our key funder partners are understanding what we're doing and more important, what we're not doing.
Yeah, I think Steve can speak to this, but in terms of the communication and presentations that we're doing at some of the local, with some of our local community partners, I think that we should be doing more communication as kind of the process solidifies, and we have stuff that I think we can share out. So I think there will be more additional communication as this process kind of solidifies. And I hear that 100%. I think what we would like, or what I would like today from the board is to answer any questions you might have. So I appreciate that, Marcus and Dr. Gallagher, and also to get your feedback on the idea from the ad hoc committee as to whether or not we should add a couple members. And do you have any suggestions of if this, maybe this sector or this representative, or have you thought about this so that we can go back to the current ad hoc committee and start thinking about, does this make sense for the discussions that are happening right now and will happen in the future? Just kind of the direction we're looking for today.
Dr. Claypool is on the foundation board. but-
He is on the
Yeah,
foundation
so
board.
that is a part of it.
Just commentary, brainstorming, like this is a whiteboard writing into like HIPC, is there maybe somebody from HIPC, or staff or member of, in addition to, a person at the county, there might be in county health, somebody that can bring a different lens and a different perspectives. But I'm not trying to, I appreciate you asking the question.
Right.
I think it sounds like you've got there's a balance between community perspectives and getting something done quickly
Yeah.
that you're asking.
Yeah. Any other? And it's, I don't like pop quizzes either, right? So if you have any ideas after the fact, you go home tonight, you think, oh, this person might make a good fit. Emails are always open. Obviously, we can't respond to you, but if you send them to Steve of like, hey, this person might make a good fit for the discussions that might happen. That would be great for us to at least bring to the team and think about going forward.
Thank you. Well, thank you both for your time and commitment. It sounds like it's growing fast and growing bigger than you thought initially. Appreciate your attention and extraordinary effort. Right. And staff.
Right. If there's no other questions, I do want to open up to public comment at this time. Anyone wishing to speak on this item? I'll first start on online. Anyone online wishing to speak on item number 6?
No hands online.
Okay. Anyone in person wishing to speak on this item?
I have a comment.
Please.
Should I go?
Yeah, please. Humor me here, please.
Alright, so, Robin Cosby, I've been at the hospital 24 years through so much. And one of the things that was so exciting about the district and everything was regaining our independence. I started the hospital not very long after the whole CHS thing, everyone, and I heard about all that change. And I was really proud of the board and the hospital last year maintaining that independence and turning down some of those offers. And I know we're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place right now, but the idea of going back to any sort of corporate management feels in some ways like a step backwards. And I hope that, maybe that is our way forward, but I hope that that is not rushed into in any way.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on this item? Good talking.
I just wanted to, Nellie Tracy, radiology director. I just wanted to just make you aware or remind you that as you start looking for partnerships, keep the imaging department in mind, because as we will be growing, the equipment that we're bringing in was selected strategically for cardiac care and for expansion of services that unfortunately we do not currently have decisions for. So as we grow, we can definitely bring more throughput with just what we have, but it will be wonderful as you guys are looking for partnerships to also say, hey, where do you want to grow in this particular area? We're bringing spectral CT. Let me tell you what this is about. I'd be more than happy to share information, mammography services, women's health, breast MRI, neuro, MSK. I mean, gosh, the possibilities are going to be endless with this wonderful equipment that we have. So please do help us up, because this could potentially use radiology as revenue generating powerhouse as well. Because we will have that potential to do great things for our community and to also bring new technology to the area. We are the first spectrum CT in the area. We are the first closed system for MRI. So the technology for not having to have more helium, even though that's it's different technology, but the imaging itself is also wonderful. So please, if you need any PR, let me know, because that should be an attractive force to different institutions or organizations to the partnership.
Thank you. And anyone else?
Get in the front row.
No, because I could be trouble in the back. June Ponce, thank you for being here. I wanted to address your question in terms of our commitment to our donors and committee members and foundations who have contributed to the process and the idea of what Robin was saying and maintaining local. That is absolutely our priority as a foundation and as a Pajaro Valley Healthcare District project, is really to honor and respect what the donors from the initial onset and the idea of keeping things local and keeping things, it's not necessarily the local piece, it's how do I be part of this greater story? And so that as a foundation, and the foundation board sees that. There's been initial conversations of how can we ensure that the community connection to what was shared over and over again, still maintained, and still they feel part of this greater healthcare district. That is absolutely important. That brought us to this opportunity that we have in front of us, and how do we ensure that that community slash bridge with the donors and foundations continue, including our staff and including people who have been extremely supportive of what we've accomplished. So that is in progress. I think just to clarify or to share with you, I sent about a month ago an email blast to all our donors. I received excellent response. Thank you for keeping us posted, June. We need to have healthcare access here. How can we support? And since then, we've had meetings. I've had meetings with donors who are interested in knowing more about the process, and Steve has joined me in some of those meetings, and so a moving conversation piece that I wanted to address that. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, anyone else wish to speak on this side? Okay, I'll close down the public comment. Thank you to the board. So, stay on your toes, right? Be ready. We're moving quickly, we're moving diligently. And we know how important this process is for the hospital, for health in our region. And so we will be sharing more as the process continues continues to solidify. So thank you. I'm going to move us on now to item number 7. This is the Watsonville Community Hospital Foundation update. This is from the Executive Director of Community Hospital Foundation, June Ponce.
June Ponce, it's late. But you know what? I did a good PowerPoint because it's pictures, because I knew we would be here. Woman has a name, and it's just beautiful. It's mosaic, and that place is very special because we had a Twilight Tapestry Gala. I'm going to give you an overview from the last 2 quarters, because time has been moving so quickly. I have the clicker. Thank you. No, that's okay. Please, it'll be quicker if you do it. This is just a reminder of who we are. To amplify, our mission is to amplify the impact of Watsonville Community Hospital through inclusion, community philanthropy, innovation, partnership, connectivity to create sustainable access to healthcare in the Pajaro Valley region. So again, this is who we are. We serve and promote and work with our community to support our local hospitals. Our values are very special, very similar to the hospital. Trust, gratitude, community engagement, and forward thinking, which definitely I hold very true and special to who I am as well. Next slide. I wanted to give you an update on the Packard Foundation. This was the original loan that we received to provide the hospital when we became a community hospital. At the moment, the loan was 6.3. You can see on the chart that we made significant payments. March 2024, 1.9, in September 24, $500,000. March 2025, recently, we made a $1.4 million payment. The balance we have due is $904,000, and the payoff is due January 31st, 2026. We are so close. I say we're so close. Luckily, we have continued to have an excellent relationship with our donors and the individuals who pledge. We still have about $233,000 to collect from now until then. I am confident with our donors and what they've committed and pledged. I think we are going to be able to make that payment and just be clear in making that $6.3 million commitment. Next slide. Just a quick overview, just a summer overview. I'm going to go through each of those items as we discussed in this slide. So there was an event held here with the Health Trust, employee giving, partnership with City of Watsonville, Cat Lab, TV press conference, and then a Twilight Tapestry. Next slide. So in April of 2025, I know it seems like so long ago, but in this very room, was last year, the Health Trust and the foundation worked together on a grant for two purposes. One is to jointly do a health forum here in this space, but also the target of the purpose of the grant was health equity. And so I will not miss an opportunity to get funding for the hospital. And so because it was health equity and our education team needed equipment that was relatable to our community, I said, hey, I can help you. I can co-partner with you. And so we received a grant jointly with the Health Trust and received about $16,000, and we were able to buy mannequins and equipment for the education learning center that we have here in Watsonville at our hospital. And so our team, Kirsten left, but Kirsten and Cecilia were thrilled that they had equipment to provide training for our nurses. And also in conjunction with that, we had a forum here earlier in April that we supported the Health Trust in hosting about 50 or so healthcare providers. And so it was a really nice partnership. We had our Watsonville, I was going to say Watsonville High, sorry. Our Watsonville, I'm a wildcat forever. We had our staff members do a presentation as well and be part of this project. I really encourage you to visit our Education Learning Center. Next slide. We also had, I discussed the employee giving. Our employees are awesome. They left, but they are so awesome. We were able to raise some monies to do mini grants, and you can see Cecilia and some of our staff members with their equipment, like a CPAP machine. Our NICU staff were really excited because they were able to, we purchased a little neonatal resuscitation baby. And so it's those things that bring me joy to ensure that we continue doing the work of fundraising so that we make sure that it goes back to our hospital. We had a mini celebration with all the awardees, and that's what we're going to keep doing. So next slide. Other equipment investment. You'll see that we purchased our 4th anesthesia machine. Of course, that's going to expand services and have access to our physician. We purchased 2 Impella devices for the Cat Lab and startup supplies. I know it's a touch point subject, but the foundation has actually fundraised quite a bit of funds to support the Cat Lab at some capacity. So the other thing we purchased is a lab refrigerator. I believe your refrigerator went out, and so there was some funding available to purchase a fridge for the lab. Regarding the CCAH grant, we received a big grant from the Alliance, and last month you approved patient monitors. That's in progress, and right now we're in discussion to see how we can purchase labor beds for our L&D team and other equipment. So that project is moving forward as we speak. Next slide. For community engagement, we partner with the city of Watsonville. Over the summer, we hosted two students one from Watsonville High and one from Aptos. They were able to meet some of our directors and tour around the hospital, and really it became a promotion, and they are big cheerleaders of this hospital, which was part of Summer in the City for the city of Watsonville. They enjoyed it. They were with us every day for a few hours. And so, you know, they had raving reviews of spending time at the hospital, and it was an aha moment for them. And certainly, you know, we will wish them well. We were able to do additional volunteer work at Second Harvest Food Bank. They were impressed with pharmacy. Jen took them around. They were impressed with L&D, and they just inspired them to really think about healthcare for their future. The other thing that happened is our very own nurse, Cecilia Ayala, she, the San Francisco Giants reached out and said, hey, it's Nurses Week. We'd love to highlight Watsonville Community Hospital nurses, and is one of your nurses willing to say play ball? And so the team selected Cecilia, and so on June 3rd, she was able to participate at the Giants game and was able to be in the Jumbotron and represent Watsonville Community Hospital, and we're very happy about that. Then the other thing that we've been participating and supporting is the press conference from the PV Collaborative, which is a great partnership that we have as a foundation. Next slide. We had our cath lab open house in August. It was a great representation of community members, some donors. Thank you, Tony, for attending, and Alex. Well, thank you. And really, ultimately, people were impressed and of what we are doing with our hospital and what type of services we will be providing very soon in the future. So that really sparked the interest of, okay, there is movement, there's potential, and there's growth. So that overall, I wanted to share that it was a very nice event. The foundation reached out to our donors, and they overall had a great time. Next slide. The gala, we are so happy to have honored Dr. Grantham and Dr. Vasquez. So Dr. Vasquez wasn't able to join us. He was in Peru doing some of his work, and it was absolutely a lovely event. Both speakers were very inspiring and really just set the tone for who we are as a hospital and why our physicians do what they do and why they are connected to our hospital. We both had a cheering crowd, and really truly it was inspiring. Next slide. And I have tons of pictures because there was so many special moments throughout the evening. I met new donors. We have new donors out of this event, people who didn't really know what the hospital did and how we were different. And that happened because we have sponsorships. Our sponsors couldn't make it. They invited some of their friends. So it becomes this thing that that people really just gravitate not only to the mission of what we do, but they get to speak to our nurses, to our physicians, and there's an automatic connection. And so that's really the goal of the gala. They appreciated the speech that Steve gave. Speaking of HR1 and the challenges that are coming, I had a comment from someone who said, wow, how did something so hard to how did you make it sound so like that it's doable? We can get through this. That's really some of the comments like that people heard. It really was an inspiring event. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Tony, and Alex for joining us. Next item. So from the gala, thank you, Tony, for highlighting. I have been actively fundraising for our OR. I heard our nurses multiple times, and in conversation with Steve and the leadership team, we know that it is a top priority, right? Because it impacts multiple people, not only physicians and nurses, but ultimately our patients. So we've been actively fundraising, thanks to the gala. We raised closely to about $145,000. But for this particular campaign, my goal was clearly over 500,000. We are so close, so close. Just recently, last week, we received a significant contribution from an anonymous donor. So it's bringing me much closer to be able to renovate 2 operating rooms. And we hope to start that project sometime early next year, so that we can get that momentum going. So I will have confirmation later on in October for a pending grant, another grant to help me with this specific project. But I'm very excited. I hope that our nurses and our teams are happy about this, that there is progress. So, and I think that's it. Thank you. Any questions?
Any questions for June? No, it's late, June, so be patient with me. I have a couple questions.
Oh, okay.
So the Packard loan, we're kind of at the end of it, and I just want to emphasize again, like Packard didn't need to do this. They basically said, we'll loan you these dollars so that you can go to donors here in a short period of time, which is about 3 months or between 3 to 6 months from when we had a fundraise to purchase the hospital. And that essentially allowed those donors to say, I can't give you everything that I can give you now, but I could do it over the course of 3 years.
Right.
So that's the loan that's being paid off is donors who said, I will do this, I will donate to this cause back in 2022, now following through on their donations. And so I know a good friend of mine is that $940,000 that's coming straight from him in total. So that's awesome. I'm just wondering, you said that, I'm wondering what the sort of relationships have been with those donors of like, now we know like this kind of what I would call a phase of this fundraising of like, hey, you helped us get to this point. Now what is like the kind of the next step for those donors that made that first initial commitment, and now like what are we telling them like is kind of the future with given everything that's kind of in flux right now?
Right. It's keeping the priority for me is keeping them informed of what is going on. I think as a foundation, my goal is to work in partnership with the hospital administration and sort out what is the capital needs list, what is the next project. I have multiple requests from multiple directors. I need this, I need that, but really, and I wish I had millions to give to each of their requests, but because the need is great, setting a priority and working with Steve and Julie and the administration is really my priority to ensure that we have a priority list. And if and when we're ready to launch a campaign, whether it's ED, expanding our ED or something else, I want to make sure that our donor base is fully aware once we decide what the priority is and what that specific project is. It would be in coordination and in partnership with the hospital administration. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and then just the donors, I mean, I'm sure they feel fulfilled of like, now the Packard loan is being paid off. They've made come through on their donation that they had initially said they're on their pledge.
Right.
I'm sure that they feel fulfilled or that they feel like, I can now see it. We've made it past the first 3 years. Now I understand and all that sort of stuff. Yeah,
What they've accomplished.
yeah, exactly.
What they've accomplished is everything we've accomplished so far. And it is a big accomplishment, and 3 years is a large commitment.
Mhm.
So I do think once that January 31st, I hit the button and send the wire, I'm having champagne.
Yeah.
But no, it is a celebration and it
Yeah.
is a moment.
It is a big moment, I think, for
It
the
is.
foundation and for the hospital.
Well,
And-
it's the, and I lived through the bankruptcy process. We had those challenging conversations and hurry up, sign the pledge. I need to turn it in by 5.
Yeah,
Packard wants it. So there's a celebration there.
yeah, definitely. And I'm sure we're gonna send chocolates or something to the folks over at the Packard Foundation saying thank you for that, obviously, yeah. Any other questions from the board for Jim?
Thank you.
Okay, I do want to open up to public comment, sorry. Yeah, I'll get your comments, don't worry. Anyone, wishing to speak on this item? Thank you, Jude. Wishing to speak on this item online?
No hands raised.
Anyone in person wishing to speak on this item? Okay, seeing none. Bring it back to the board for any comments.
Oh, now I do see a hand online.
Oh,
Sorry, you wanna take that off? From Andrea Lilly.
yeah.
Hi, thank you all. Thank you, members of the board, and Steve. I just wanted to commend June Ponce. I'm the president of the foundation board, for her exceptional dedication to the mission and values of the foundation and her continued push for transparency with the donor base and the community around everything the hospital is doing right now. And thank you to the board for your diligent work to find partnerships. So just wanted to lift that up and thank you, June, for your dedication and presentation this evening.
Thank you. Thank you for your service as well.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, I will now close it again. I'm sorry. Here you go. Continue.
Oh, I was just gonna finish with thank you to June and her board. And all the volunteers and everybody who helped pull off an amazing event, and all the staff stuff. I think it's just a continuation, so thank you. I was jumping the gun a little.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry for interrupting you. Okay, there's no other comments. Move on to the last item of tonight's agenda. Item number 8, it's the temporary forbearance of post-closing rental payments from Potter Valley Healthcare District Hospital Corporation to the Healthcare District waiver of letter of credit. Steve, I believe, is taking us through this one.
Yeah, so the hospital board heard about this earlier, and so for the district board, the recommendation is to pass a motion to approve the temporary forbearance of those rental payments from the hospital as the lessee to the healthcare district as the lessor, and waive the requirement of that letter of credit or security deposit under the formerly known as MPT lease, and authorize me or any other representative of the district to sign and deliver the documentation for that. Second forbearance, was listed as a second forbearance in the letter, not in the board memo, so I'll just make note of that. And yeah, I don't know. Noel will tell me if I forgot anything.
Good, Noel? Okay, say thumbs up. Any questions for Steve on this item? Okay, seeing none, I do have to open up to public comment. Anyone wishing to speak on this item online,
No hands online.
in person? Okay, seeing none, I'll close that down and bring it back to the board for an appropriate motion.
Move staff recommendation.
Second, please.
I second.
Thank you. Michelle Creel, I will take roll on this item. Director Cox. Yes. Director Creel. Yes. Director Gallagher.
Yeah.
Director Patel.
Yes.
And Chair News.
Yes, okay. I will adjourn us. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.